Ohio farmland is vanishing fast, and a lot of people keep asking the same question. Why are big tech companies and billionaires buying up so much farmland here in the Buckeye State? You've probably noticed it yourself. Fields that sat in the same family for decades are suddenly gone. For sale signs go up, and within days, the property sold to an out-of-town LLC that nobody's ever heard of. Cash deals that the average person can't compete with. Ask any Ohioan, ask any farmer in Ohio, and they'll tell you the same thing. Something unusual is happening with Ohio land, and it's happening fast. And it doesn't take long to realize what's happening is not about farming. The real explanation starts with what's underneath the land and the resources that big tech wants control of. I mean, let's face it, big tech's not buying Ohio farmland because they all of a sudden care about soybeans and corn. They're buying it because of what the farmland represents to them: power, water, and tax advantages. And Ohio happens to have all three in abundance. Today, we're breaking it all down on the Ohio Housing Nerd. Something a lot of people don't know is that Ohio has quietly become one of the biggest data center states in the country. And it's not just for Intel. Across the state, data centers are popping up everywhere. Comment below and let me know, have you seen more data centers where you live? In fact, now there are 202 data centers in the state of Ohio, with over 120 in central Ohio alone. And every one of these data centers consumes a massive amount of resources. The fact is that data centers don't just sip natural resources, they inhale resources. In fact, according to AEP Ohio, electricity demand from these data centers is supposed to double by the year 2030. Double. Think about that. Not trend upwards, not just go up a little bit, but double. And we all know what happens to predictions. A lot of times they're wrong. They're probably painting a rosy picture, because in reality, the data centers are going to gobble up much more than double the required power. Let me know what you think. Listen to what they're saying. Double, not increase, not trend upwards, double. This is why big tech companies are buying up farmland near the transmission and power corridors, because whoever controls the land under the grid controls the grid. They're not buying farmland, they're buying access to the power. And have you seen your power bill rise? I'd like to know. I know my bill has continued to go up, and my fear is it's not going to stop. Now let's talk about the part that no leadership really wants to acknowledge, and that's water. Ohio has some of the strongest water resources in the Midwest. Deep, rich aquifers and underground rivers that flow through the state, producing tons of great water. According to some of Intel's own Ohio water filings, the two microchip fab sites that are about 10 miles from me right now will consume upwards of 5 million gallons of water per day. And nationally, large data centers can use anywhere from 1 to 5 million gallons of water a day. This isn't just a Columbus or big city issue. This impacts every region of Ohio and every Ohioan. And here in the little town of Granville, where I live, we're seeing a massive fight ensue over the groundwater that Intel is going to need. Remember, folks, there are no solutions. There are just trade-offs. And the people of Granville probably fear that one of the trade-offs of this development that's happening nearby is the robbing of the natural resources like water. Remember, big tech's not buying all this farmland for crops. They're buying it for what's underneath it. Now, here's a part that I know every Ohioan is feeling: the property taxes. Because while big tech companies receive 10, 15, 20, 30-year tax abatements for billions of dollars, ordinary families are getting hammered with historical property tax increases. I mean, I literally get probably 5 phone calls a day, 5 emails, and dozens of comments from people that say, hey, I've seen your videos about property taxes and I'm getting crushed too. What are we gonna do about it? In fact, there are some county auditors right now in Ohio warning that we could see historical property tax increases in the next few years. And here's the thing. No one really understands how they value our properties in order to justify the tax increases. But to these big tech companies, none of that really matters. They're just after no taxes so they can set up shop on Ohio farmland and cash in. I'm not naive enough to think that these big companies would come to Ohio if it wasn't for these tax breaks, because to lure these companies in, we have to give them some type of incentive. But at the end of the day, it seems very odd and completely unfair to continue to tax first-time home buyers and senior citizens on fixed incomes out of their homes based on the paper value and unrealized gains on their properties. And not only that, as many of y'all have pointed out, it's unconstitutional. But this is why big tech moves in early, because they go after the abatements, while homeowners and farmers are left footing the bill. But here's the part that nobody wants to say out loud. Ohio is no longer just a flyover state. It's an energy state. It's a logistics state, it's a water state, and it's a data infrastructure state. And our farmland is the perfect gateway for all of it. It's cheap, it's quiet, and has minimal zoning requirements. And the farmland can change hands without anybody noticing. As one viewer said it best, it's not to feed the poor. It's to feed their greed of power and money. I couldn't agree more. Now let's talk about how this affects Ohioans with the housing market. We all know that homes have become completely unaffordable for the average Ohioan. And so when these big tech companies come in and buy up massive portions of land, that land could have been used maybe for affordable homes. But then what happens? The data center, the chip factory, the solar field goes in, and most people don't want to live near that. So the area around it is basically not going to be for housing for the foreseeable future. And in my opinion, this is one of the reasons why the home prices in Ohio continue to go up. Many people don't know, but less than 2% of all the houses in Ohio were built after 2020. That basically means we need a lot more new homes, preferably smaller, affordable homes. But the land that could go to affordable housing is being bought and kept by big tech. And folks, once they own that land, they're not gonna let it go. And if we continue down the path we're on now in the Buckeye State with higher taxes, higher utility costs, and more big tech companies purchasing up massive portions of Ohio farmland, my fear is that the Ohio housing market will never be affordable for the average person. But you tell me what you think. Now, if you want to help protect Ohio from the future of all these corporate land grabs, here's a few things I think you can do. Number one, support local farmers, local property owners, and even local landlords. You may not know this, but 90% of all rentals are owned by mom and pop landlords, the small guys, the folks that own 1 to 5 homes, not 1,000 homes. So I'd encourage you to do what you can to support those local property owners, because someone has to own the property. It's better, in my opinion, if it's somebody local versus somebody from California. Number two, buy Ohio real estate and keep it. The more land regular Ohioans own, the less big tech can take. And number three, share this video. The more people that understand what's happening to Ohio's farmland, the harder it becomes for these land grabs to go unnoticed. I need your help to grow this channel and educate more Ohioans about what's really going on in the Ohio housing market and the Ohio land grab that we're seeing from these corporations.